directors who were part of making this happen. So here are her secret slides that she didn't get to, the communication and media sponsor slide that she didn't get to, and very importantly, when you're nervous, the last thing you want to do is think about the clicker and your slides and your talk. So please do use the QR code so that you can access the agenda, because you're not going to want to miss any of our amazing speakers. I hope you don't mind me taking over your emceeing duties. Now, this is me. And then, so there are times when I forget to introduce who the heck I am. Well, this is me. You can use the search engine of your choice to look me up. You will find articles with a diversity of opinions about me, from being a cyber sex pioneer to somebody very interested in chocolate and working in the wine industry. I have been around since the 80s online, and I do realize some of you might not have been born when I got online in 1985. But that's okay, I'm getting older and involved online in 1985. What were you, in diapers? Thank you very much for all of you who thought that. So this is who I am. I am really stressed about technical things. So you will see that I make a lot of assertions about technical things because I am in a glass case promotion. But one of the fun things is I get chocolate and sweets for questions. So if you're paying attention, you will get a prize. So please do pay attention to the slides, ask questions that are relevant to the talk, and you get chocolate, or I've got jelly beans and wine gum. So it's fun all around. And it'll keep you awake, because what I'm going to try to get through are three major things. One of them, I get asked a lot. Like, I do a lot of migrations, I do a lot of link building too. I buy links, yes. But I get asked a lot, how long does it take to recover after you change a domain or migrate? So I'm going to cover that. Then I'm going to talk about what you need to know. Some common mistakes that, maybe you want to be looking out for, but also some uncommon mistakes that you would be like, but who would be stupid enough? Oh, wait, clients. And then some just essential technical points that I hope that you will be ready for. All right, so are we ready? Yeah, yes. Excellent, so let's get on with it, right? Now, how long does it take after we have made the great switch from domain A to domain B? Well, you've got to ask yourself how long a piece of string is. Because it doesn't actually have a standard answer. It could be quick, it could be weeks. I've done migrations for like YMYL, which is your money or your life domains. So a government agency in the US that I was working for had this lovely habit of changing their domains. I think we went through 4 or 5 in a year. And it was just one of those things that they liked to do. They were like, you know what? Order this name now. We'd like to call ourselves something else. And so they made it really challenging to keep things up. But it doesn't always work. So this was a company that had, again, YMYL content. And what they wanted to do was take all of that out of their main domain, put it off into another domain, and have just the safe content on one domain, and then have the other stuff on the other domain. It didn't work. And they thought, maybe we'll just switch it back. We'll just put everything back on the main domain. Didn't work. That was painful. And it goes on like this. This trailing off that some of you can't see, that just goes down and down and down, never got better. It just stayed like that. Yeah. That was painful. But they're not alone, because misery loves company. When we fail, we're like, you know what? Big people fail too. It's not just us little people. So big people fail too. And the problem is sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But sometimes it works. That's where that dot is, right back up there. Does anybody know about Woo and WooCommerce? Yeah, some people did. Yeah. So they were like, we're just going to call ourselves Woo now. Really? Like we're supposed to know what Woo is? It's what we do when we're excited, not when we're ready to buy. But they switched back, and for a while it was really, really good. So it was awesome, they were feeling great. And this is what happens when we actually listen to the SEOs. When you and I were out there giving our recommendations, we're like, you should do this. And people are like, yes, I, as your client, will do all the things you said. And we're like, and see, this is what happens, things get better. Yes, absolutely. And also, another example of success. We were the blue line, we are the blue line. So it's not always bad news. It can be really great news. You can move to a new domain, and if everything goes well, awesome. There's got to be more though, right? It can't just be those two examples, right? There's got to be more. Well, there is. Instead of having garbage, instead of having a lot of well-written content that was targeting individual keywords, we decided to take everything and merge it so that it was by topic, and it worked. We were very careful, but it worked. And thank God I actually removed the client name, because up until about half an hour ago, you would have known who that was. Whoa, that was shocking. But it worked. It worked. We deleted content, we merged content, and it worked. It is a publishing site. It was a little spammy, still a little bit spammy, but it worked. So, it was glorious until it wasn't. It was glorious until it wasn't. And the reason I get pulled into most things is that people do stuff wrong. And I don't know that it's intentional. Sometimes I feel like, we spoke about this on 6 other projects, and I told you not to do this, and you keep doing it. It's like you're causing me pain because you want to hurt me, instead of just saying you're incompetent. So we're going to go with one over the other, right? Maybe it's just clients, right? Maybe it's just clients. It's just clients. So, what did we do? Now, I don't understand why Google did this, but this site went live with broken hreflang, and it's like it went along Googlebot, and it was just like, you know what, you can't get that right, we're just going to screw you, we're not going to spider you anymore. And Google just stopped spidering the site. And then our rankings started to tank. And then for some reason, our server speed got slow. And it was just like this perfect storm of stuff. Like Google's like, forget you. We're just gonna walk off and do somebody else's website because we can't get hreflang right, and then you can't get anything right. So you fail. But yes, sometimes little things make the biggest difference. And there are tools out there that will help us fix it. And the client wasn't bothered. The client was just like, it doesn't matter. If they get to the wrong site from like Google search, they'll just use Google Translate, right? It's just a click. You just click. Yeah, no. Your customers don't have time for that. But I fixed it eventually when I got through the developers. It did take a cookie basket. Well, not quite a basket. It was a delivery of cookies from a nice cookie shop nearby. I went into the cookie shop and I bought all the nice cookies, and I came in and I was like, I really need you to fix this. Here's cookies. Cookies? And they took them right away and fixed what I needed. And it worked, and we got better, which was great. So I looked like a superstar, when it was really the devs messed it up and then had to fix it. Once the devs fixed it, it was all good again. And I looked amazing, and they just kept their jobs. Then I had the client that accidentally blocked access to Googlebot. Accidentally. And I happened to be in the office. Normally I work offsite. I happened to be in the office, and there was a phone call, video call, 2 desks over. And they were like, I just don't understand. What we're making per click has gone down so much, and I just don't know. We had to block access for this thing for Googlebot, and I was like, my ears immediately perked up. I was like, what the hell are you people in ads doing? And this is what they were doing. This. And then when I discovered it, I got them to fix it, but it still took time before Google trusted us again and came around. So that is one of the things that you need to be somewhere, stopped access. This is not normal, people. Like, who even does that? Whew, jeez. Another one is new design. How many of you out here have done a new design launch? So yeah. Have you ever had it where the client's like, well, we don't have to map it. Google will figure it out. We don't need to put the redirects in place. That takes too long. Honestly, if I give you a redirect map and I ask you to implement it, please do. I'm gone are the days when I used to just be able to give you a doc and you would just upload it. Okay, that did slow the server down a bit, but hey, it meant that no matter what, I made sure the redirects were in place. Now I have to wait for someone else. I have to wait for someone else. Oh my God. And it took forever to get it fixed. Do not forget to put redirects in place, even if you don't want that content anymore. Check if it's got links. Majestic is one of the tools I use all the time to check if a site has links coming into a page. Not just Google Search Console, not just SEMrush or Ahrefs, Majestic. And if you look at the spreadsheets that I use for content consolidation, it's got 4 columns for if there are links coming into this page. Sometimes it's only Majestic that alerts me to the fact that there are links. And Majestic tells me where the 404s are. Because Majestic will be like, listen, there was a page there was a link, or there were 5 links. Now the page isn't there, but the links are still there. What you doing, mate? And I discover all sorts of missing pages. I won't get on to the client who went live, didn't do all the redirects, and they didn't know what pages they used to have. That I just did. But it's not our fault, right? We told them what to do, and they didn't implement the redirect, so it's not our fault. We can get away with that. But then there's the times the clients are like, you know what? It doesn't look pretty enough. I don't like the way that my menu looks because it's got all these link things. I just want a really clean menu. I don't want lots of stuff there. I just want like 1 or 2 things, and that's it. There's a problem with that. Not only for people, but for Google Bots, but for people. How am I supposed to find what you're selling if you've removed the links? And that's why Google did that. Google was like, well, if you don't love it anymore, I don't either. You're not going to rank for anything. This is not something that we really think about, but the technical elements of spidering are so important. Your internal linking structure is essential. I can change the rank of a page with 1 link for the home page above the fold with the right anchor text. And I can change the rank of an internal page. Usually because it's poorly linked to anyway. But you can do this yourselves. It is an amazing thing to do, and I know it's links and not technical, but it is kind of technical because we need to be able to spider things. Because if you can't spider it, Google's not going to love it either. Now, I had another client. They had multiple different sites, Singapore, Malaysia, the UAE, all over the place, Hong Kong, fintech company. And they needed hreflang because it was basically all in English. And then local languages, so Thailand was in Thai, but mainly in English. So I was like, you know what? We're going to have to hreflang this up. So let me give you the recommendations for hreflang. Well, you would think paying me a lot of money to give them recommendations, they'd listen, right? Let's say you're out there, going to a client, and let's say you're charging them, I don't know, 2,000 euros a day. And you charge them for 5 days work, right? So that is not an insignificant amount of money, 10,000 euros you charge this client. And you say, do this thing. This is part of your recommendations that they have paid 5 figures for. You'd be like, wow, they paid lots of money to me, they must be going to do it, right? You know, they must be. I've put it in writing, I've shown my work, I've made an argument about why they should do it. It's gonna happen, right? maybe not. They messed it up so badly, I don't know, you won't be able to see because it's a little low, but you see up here, it's AE, right? That's a country, TLD, a top level domain for country. UAE, it's fine, right? You'd think that the UAE, at least some content would rank there, right? They chose Singapore, Google did, because they hadn't implemented hreflang correctly. So Google was like, well, I don't understand what you're doing, so I'm picking the one with all the links. Singapore. In the UAE, with a different product set. Thank you, Google. I hate you too. Mwah. It's like, most of my life is just screaming. Like, my husband will occasionally hear me from downstairs, and I'll just go, no, why? Just this wail of pain because they do these things and it's not my fault. But then there are times when we're in-house. Is anybody here in-house? Lots of people, yeah. So you know what it's like. Sometimes the boss listens and sometimes the boss doesn't listen. But as an outside consultant who's brought to work in-house, you think, maybe, just maybe, they'll listen to me. Because not only are they paying me a lot more than like their salary people, but I'm here in the office. I have been flown from where I live to where the office is, and I am sitting here telling you what to do. But no, apparently not. So I was working in-house, I did stuff, I went away, but I'm on Slack, and I don't know, I hope you can all read this. This was a content consolidation. I was on a different project. And I log into Slack because suddenly I see a lot of Slack messages, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this channel? The reason why this page was scheduled for purge redirection was because the average organic traffic per month was only a handful of sessions, and non-organic traffic was not considered. Don't ever do this. It might be content, but it's still technical because we're analyzing data. And I know that if, for those of us here in SEO, we think SEO is the only important thing. However, unfortunately, internal traffic runs, is important too. And these pages were some of the most highly trafficked pages because they were how to print our guides. And yes, there's no organic traffic on how to print our guides, but there is phenomenal amounts of internal traffic. And then they said, but it's a good takeaway for future projects. No, I'm sorry, you're fired, go. Honestly, they are not fired, and they did go. Because for a publishing site, you don't do that, that's really bad. And when they said that, I was like, you can't be serious that this is what you just said. It's a good takeaway for future projects. Are you kidding me? It's not a good takeaway for future projects, it's a good takeaway for now. Fix it. Oh, but that's not all I caught them doing. Just before they deleted this content, because it's seasonal, I stopped them from deleting it. It's seasonal. It has no traffic outside of the holiday season. Oh my God. Please, when you're looking at technical stuff and you're spidering the site and you're doing all your analysis, use 16 months of data from Google Search Console and do the same for Google Analytics because we should all be on GA4 for 16 months by now. Don't just trust other people. We are the technical people. We're the ones that actually think about these things, not the content creators. They just say, well, the non-organic traffic was really low, so we deleted it. Really? Screw up the site. Jesus, people. Oh my God, it's so painful. It's like, I'm like, okay, but it's fine, When they get to doing their job, like it's got good organic traffic, right? They'll leave it. Good organic traffic, they will keep it, right? Apparently not. Apparently I'm fooling myself. Do you see this where it says 0? 0, 0. Do you see the number next to it? 3.8 million. Holy cow, why did you delete it? 12, almost 13,000 clicks to nothing. What publishing site, they're not selling anything but ads. You killed all our ad revenue for those pages. Oh, but it's fine, right? Because sometimes we get the beautiful clients and we're like crystal clear in our recommendations and they do what we say and it's fine. So when you're doing your spider on the original site and then you do your spider on the new site, just double check. Screaming Frog has an amazing section. Just double check what the canonicals are set to, because sometimes the devs are like, well, it was on staging and we didn't change the canonicals from staging. What? It went from, you can see here, the average position for the entire site was quite good. And then it tanked. Because Google was like, I don't know, you don't want to rank this site. I don't know, but the other site's crap because it's the dev site and nothing's there. And it's painful. Like, why would you set staging as the canonical? But it's okay, because sometimes we win. Your money or your life, vitamin type, supplement, content. I came in, separated it out, it was all good. And I was like, you know what, it's beautiful. I am winning, this is why I came here, this is why you've hired me, it is amazing, I am great, see how awesome it is, and I'm just gonna go to these other projects, and then you're gonna go, what did you do to my site? Holy cow! Oh, you're all feeling my pain, clearly. It's like none of you are reacting. You're just like, yeah, I deserved that one, lady. I don't know what you're like with clients, but here, holy cow, if you were my consultant, I'd be like, whoa, too much. They killed my site. It was beautiful. And then they were like, we'll just add some more content, and we're just going to change the layout. And they literally did. They changed the layout of the whole menu system. They added more content. And that's what happens. It's painful. Glass house of emotions. Oh, but content is still important. I know, I love technical. Technical is my life. Technical is on or off. If your site isn't technically sound, forget it. No matter how many links you buy, you're never going to rank well. But also, if you have no links, if your site is technically sound, and you have bad content and no links, you're not going to rank. If you have good links and good technical but no content, it's going to be a struggle. Now, I have clients who sometimes not just change the design because they're like, I want 2 links at the top and it's going to look great and that's it. Sometimes they're like, well, you know, I thought we had too many blog posts, so we just deleted these blog posts so that it was simpler for people to find information. They're not going to find the information that isn't there. These are things that clients have done to me. I feel attacked. I mean, why? What have I done to you? It's not my fault. You paid me money. I came in. I gave you a solution. You did this to me. Oh my God. Please. Like, why? Why? Most of my life is this. I'm just standing in the rain, getting wet asking you why. You paid me money. This was not my fault. But this is really important. I have to preface everything like, this is not my fault. It's not my fault. They called me because I did this. So this is the client that was having problems with the UAE versus Singapore. And they said, and I'm not lying, they felt it would rank better if the site was hosted closer in proximity to the UAE. So they felt that the server was closer to the UAE, they would rank better. But the server they got in Egypt was not fast. It was so slow. Oh my God, it took forever to actually load the page. This is somebody who's actually taking comments. What is this woman saying? Oh my God, you have to change everything right now. It's awful, you've got to change it now. She's mocking you on stage. This is a slow server. You really have to check server speed. I know that's the last thing we check, except if CLS, LCP, and INP are okay. But we have to check what the client is doing. Sometimes they've made a decision like this. We are hosting it in Egypt because it's for the UAE. It's too slow. There's nothing the devs can fix that the server is going to not kill because it was too slow. Too slow. Because they wanted it in Egypt to rank well in the UAE. Now, I will say, back in the early 2000s, it really did help. So like I have French sites that ranked better when we hosted them in France. But that's like 2002 to 2006. It's 2024. Almost 20 years after the fact, it stopped being a ranking factor to have your server in the same country. Thank goodness that when I'm working with people right now, they're good developers, right? Because a good developer fixes stuff. Has anybody seen Kung Fury, the movie? No, this is like, yes, one person who knows me. He's like, this is Hammerman from Kung Fury. Hacking too much time. So look up Kung Fury, like Kung Fu, but with the Fury. So, they know how to keep the site optimized for us, right? The devs, we rely on them. Or do they? Ooh, can be a bit shady sometimes. I throw a tremendous amount of shade. 2 is always better than 1, right? That's the developer way of thinking. You know what? It's okay. I've got 2 canonicals in here because I want to make sure that Google gets it right. That's what you told me, right? Canonicals are important. Canonicals are super important. But not if they're different. Not if they're different. Because all that does is mess Google up and Google stops trusting you and stops ranking you. Thanks. I thought I could trust one person in this team, but apparently not. And they still have the same developer team because the boss likes them. And all I do now is argue with the boss about the developers who argue back saying they know better. And I'm like, no, really, you wasted 25,000 pounds on a website that they couldn't get the DOM right on, and so you had to back up to the old site. They're still on the old site because they couldn't get the DOM right. Really, it's been 2 years now. But this, thank God, isn't me. I get to point fun at other people as well. This is the lovely href flag, and you'll notice pointing to the home page. But what is the page that we're looking at? This one. Notice something different? Not the home page. Not the home page. When you do that, Google's like, so you don't want any of your pages to rank? Okay, we're not going to rank any of your pages. See, he's so shocked he just knocked out the glass door. Seriously, it's painful. Now, this is the developers trying to be smart. They're like, Judith is always down on us. So what we're going to do is we are going to fix this baby. She said we need to fix the cumulative layout shift because the pictures were flickering. And they were making themselves bigger after the page had already loaded. Why do we need that? It was moving content, it was moving everything, it was a very distracting process. So they were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to slow down the load of the page so that by the time it hits the point where the image loads, the image will load and there'll be no CLS. And they fixed it. It was beautiful. They fixed the CLS. Do you see the red at the bottom? That's what they did. They screwed everything else up. Thanks, guys. Jesus, why are you still in a job? And then recently, a client came to me and said, why are none of our pages indexed in Google? Now, when I get asked these things, usually it's a straightforward answer. Something's gone terribly wrong, it's fine. In this case, they hadn't actually, it was new, they hadn't actually declared their sitemap as a sitemap index. Google had looked at these pages and they were like, why am I putting these in the index? These are crap. So Google only put in the index one page, the home page. That's it. That's it. Why? Because of one word difference. Sometimes when we're looking at technical problems, the difference between sitemap and sitemap index is so small we can kind of miss it. Because if you're looking at something like this and you're like, well, it looks okay, it's a sitemap, it's got the sitemaps listed in it, it's okay, it's the index, it should find everything. And Google's like, no. Sorry, no. You get one page. And then you have to fix everything, because otherwise you get nothing. Sorry. And the devs were like, well, it should be fine, right? Because it's just a guideline, it's not really a rule. It's not a rule. They can figure it out. Evidently not. Oh, but it all gets better, right? It can't be that bad. You're like, oh my God, I'm scared now. She's freaking me out. This is terrible. I don't know what I'm going to do now. I just quit and I'm going to work in PPC. If you do put underperforming URLs and you're having problems with getting indexed into a separate sitemap. So what we did here is we had 6 million URLs on the site, but only about 2.5 or 3 million were getting indexed. So what we did is we put them all into a separate sitemap. And look at this for the indexed URLs. It worked. Separate sitemap. It doesn't matter that you have some already. Call it sitemap problems.xml. And just put in there the URLs that you're having problems getting indexed. And it works. Day by day it works. And here's an example where we were able to lift things up significantly. And you can see here from around 450,000 or whatever, up to about 550,000-ish, and it kept going up. Be careful when you do this, because it can damage your rankings. But if you're having problems getting stuff into the index, this is the way to go. Absolutely. But I've told you all these things, and there's a lot, but how do we make sure that we keep an eye on things? I've told you a ton of things that you need to watch out for technically and a little bit of content, but content still from a technical point of view, redirects and things like that. And don't delete stuff and then not re-implement it. And one of the things not on my checklist, but one of the things, this is Alena's checklist and I've got a checklist as well, but one of the things that you can do is, as I said, you can use Majestic to find pages that are now dead and you don't know exist. So I was brought in on a project recently where they were like, right, we bought this domain and we redirected pages to the new domain, but now the old domain's still ranking and we don't know if all the redirects are in place, we don't know what's going on, we don't know what was there before. We don't know what was there before. So I used archive.org and Majestic, as well as SEMrush, to reassemble the old domain that was dead, DNS turned off, dead totally, not even redirected at this point. They just deleted them, everything, because it was spammy and it was really bad. But they deleted everything and not redirected properly. So I went in and I found all the old URLs, reassembled everything, figured out what was going to where, so that we could create a redirect table for the new site. So there are amazing tools out there that if you don't have a chance to be in before they delete the domain, you can at least reassemble things. You really need to be in the room before migration. But at the point at which they're about to switch off everything, make sure that you've got something. One of the things I do when I first get contacted by a client is I spider the existing site. Even if I don't hear anything for 2 months, I save the spider. The number of times it has saved my ass, because what they've done is they've deleted stuff, and then they're like, well, we really need you now, but remember when we contacted you? Well, since then we've made these changes, and I have my Screaming Frog file that I've saved. Make sure also that you get access to staging to check stuff. You can use Screaming Frog for that. And make sure somebody, if you're a consultant and not in-house, for those of you who are in-house, you might need somebody senior to also be championing things, but make sure somebody in the office is championing you. is say, yes, SEO, yes. You need to have that on your side, otherwise things go very badly wrong. So what do we need to be ready for? Anything. Launching on a Friday. Anybody here ever tried to launch a website on a Friday? Well, dude, it's because you're chaos embodied. It's like Friday afternoon, I'm launching a new website. Yes. No. But be ready for it, because sometimes the devs are like, we're behind, we just want to get this live. It might be Friday at 5 p.m., but we are doing this Saturday. Go. Bye. It's a long weekend as well. I'll see you on Tuesday or Wednesday. And it's dead. So make sure that you're aware of all of these things, 404 pages that weren't redirected properly. Just make sure that you're aware. We can prevent this from hurting us further by thinking about tools. Screaming Frog is super cheap. If you can't get budget for these tools, Screaming Frog is super cheap. But again, I know it's not sold that way, but Majestic as a technical SEO tool can be so helpful because it can really help you cut down the amount of time you spend on analysis, especially with internal links. Really. If we want to be free of the pain that I've just gone through, well, we can make sure that we're using our tools correctly. We actually have Google Search Console implemented. Make sure that when you're auditing, you're thinking about non-organic and organic traffic. I know, organic traffic is the only important thing in life, but sometimes a few rare times, there might be something more than just SEO. I know it's rare. And canonicals can really screw you up, but hreflang can do some damage. So if you're going to do hreflang, make sure you're thinking about those X default tags, make sure you're thinking about everything. Just all the little tiny technical things that can go wrong, make sure that you've got that. So, what are our next steps? Well, actually, the next steps are that we're done! And everybody's like, oh, that box, you didn't pick on me! Thank you very much for your time and attention, I really appreciate it. And now, we have chocolate for questions if we have time, because I ran over. 1 or 2 questions. Oh, hey, does anybody have a question for chocolate? Because it's bars of chocolate, it's milk chocolate or jelly beans, or I feel like you're a plant. Okay, we'll take your question. What is it?
First, I just want to say, I didn't say that the site migration on Friday.
It didn't go well, the site migration on a Friday, but it did go live on a Friday.
So the question is, you mentioned about doing migrations, you change like the name structure.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have a set process?
Do you have a set process with when you have a kind of new staging site, how you're kind of measuring those internal things and saying, okay, this page is important, is it still as important on the new site?
Yeah, it wasn't a migration, that was just random. The client just randomly felt like they wanted to change the menu. That wasn't a migration, that was the client.
Do you have a process for that?
No. Do I have a process of, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what did you do? Like, your rankings are tanking and I haven't touched the site. So I usually have my Screaming Frog, and I know how deep it is, because Screaming Frog will tell you how many clicks away from the homepage something is, and if something's disappeared, I'll say, so, I see that these pages that were there before are now 404. You've not redirected them, but you've removed them. Can you tell me a little bit about what you were thinking, or what the process was here that you engaged in that resulted in all this dead? But honestly, with clients, and I know some people are in-house and you will have the same problems, that your boss will decide something, go over your head, go straight to devs and not talk to you. But as SEOs, we know from clients, they will do stuff without asking us, and then they'll come back later and say, so I did this thing, and it kind of didn't go right. Can you help? And then your first question is, you did this, but you didn't ask me. But I just save files. There's nothing you can do. Have SEMrush running or Ahrefs. I mentioned Content King. I I haven't used it recently, but on the publisher, it helped phenomenally. People were messing with stuff on that site daily. Like, I would get so many alerts, and I was like, I actually said, I think the tool's broken because I keep getting these alerts. No, it was people just screwing around consciously. I'm just gonna change this. No, stop. It's optimized, it's ranking. Oh, you deleted it. So yeah, there's no, I'm sorry, I have no magic wand. I wish I did. If I did, I'd be retired.
I was just checking you didn't have one, just in case.
Just in case. You're like, I don't think she has a magic wand, but let's just check. Yes, it's my Harry Potter wand. I just go, I'll give you chocolate. Do you want chocolate? Jelly beans. Okay, I'll save you a pack of jelly beans. Any other questions? Ooh, Rishi Rishi, do you mind if I ask the guy behind you first? Mark, would you love to run I don't know if you can. It's just the guy just behind Rishi, who's behind Jerry. Thank you, Mark, I appreciate it.
Hello, Judith. I'm Iraq. You talk about domain migration, but do you have any experience about migrate a directory to domain?
Migrated directory. So the YMYL example was a specific health subfolder, which then went off to the domain name health.com. So it was like, I don't know, carpethealth.com instead of being carpet.com/health. So we took everything that was in the health subfolder and put it into its own domain, and it was fine, it was great. We had a good structure that mirrored the original structure on carpet.com, on carpethealth.com. So the carpet.com/health subfolder, when we moved it, we mimicked exactly the same structure, the same subfolder off that folder structure. Everything was the same. But then they decided to clean it up. I would recommend that you leave it for a good 3 months before you start cleaning it up. And also have a really good idea, especially if it's YMYL, your money or your life. So health, gambling, whatever. I've worked in pharmaceuticals, I've worked in gambling, I've worked in the adult industry. Anything that we change in those areas, we always have a settling in period where we just let everything sort of settle, get spiked by Google, and then we move on. And we have a lot of internally built tools we use to monitor Google and which pages it hits. So for carpethealth.com, I'm trying not to say the client name because I don't want to get sued. But I've left them behind and I don't work with them anymore, thank God. Carpethealth.com, that domain, when it was stable and we put all the content live, and then we started to add new content, it worked beautifully. But the way we did it was a one-to-one, and the redirects were all one-to-one, and we did 301 redirects. So it was all permanent redirects from the subfolder to the new domain, and then the new domain sat on its own. So it was completely on its own. For the one where we moved and then moved back, that was a whole site. But for the health one, it was a subfolder. So yeah, it can be done, but in YMYL, you have to settle it before you start messing with it, and then don't start just deleting content and adding stuff that is even worse. Like, just say no to stuff sometimes. But yeah, mimic everything directly. Do a complete mirror, 301 redirects from the original site to the new site. All the new site vetted it for 3 months before you start messing with it. Just have it live and make it stable for 3 months before you start messing with it, and then you can start messing with it. Does that kind of answer?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, chocolate or sweets?
Chocolate.
Chocolate? We have to probably move on to our next speaker, but thank you very much. And if you have any other questions, I'm around.